Hey guys, Lucky Tremendous here, and I'm back again for another episode of Lucky Talks TV. After the very hot heels of the mid-season finale of Season 2, The Walking Dead, we're now going to start the second half of the season today with Episode 8, simply titled Nebraska. After the great ending of the first half, how can this second half compete? Well, I'm pretty sure you'll be impressed with the results. Without further ado, my friends, let us begin Episode 8 of Season 2 of The Walking Dead, Nebraska. With all the walkers killed from Herschel's barn, including the zombified Sophia, with everyone still grieving from her loss, Herschel demands Rick and his group leave the farm, or at the very least Shane, for causing the problem. Everybody demands to know how Sophia got into the barn in the first place, but of course the only explanation we get is that Otis found her and put her in the barn before he was killed, which weirdly enough makes a lot of sense. I remember a theory video years ago about how indeed Sophia got into the barn, and if what Herschel says is true, that Otis found her, she died shortly after she left Rick, after he and her got separated. She didn't last very long out there, which really even makes all that searching even more pointless because she was never out there to begin with. It really is kind of sad when you think about it. All the while, something else that takes away from the beginning part of this episode is that Beth, Herschel's daughter, that really has not had nearly as much screen time or has basically been invisible this whole season while Maggie takes all the spotlight, she goes up to her zombified mother's body and then her zombified mother tries to eat her. It's definitely a really shocking scene as Beth screams at the top of her lungs while everyone tries to pull her away from the walker. I mean, geez. It's like your entire life just shatters right in front of your eyes. That's what everything is going on about here. Rick confronts Shane regarding his actions leading up to breaking open the barn, but of course Shane considers Rick just as delusional as Herschel and berates him for wasting everyone's time for looking for Sophia. We got him out in those woods looking for a little girl that every single one of us knew was dead. That's what you did. Man, you're just as delusional as that guy. Yeah, it's pretty sure that Rick and Shane are on thin ice from being friends and pretty much are about to break apart. The group decides to bury the walker bodies of Herschel's wife and stepson as well as Sophia, while of course burning the rest. They hold a makeshift funeral for Sophia, but Carol refuses to come. She falls into a very deep depression and goes off into the woods, telling everyone before she goes that that's not her daughter, that Sophia died a long time ago. She starts to pull up the Cherokee roses that was the sign of hope for her, and of course rips them apart in her hands. Jeez, this is so sad. I felt so terrible for her the entire time I was watching. Shane finds her and helps her return to the camp, apologizing to her that he had no idea that Sophia was in the barn. But of course they come to terms with it because if Shane had not bursted into the barn, someone could have died looking for her in the woods. So at least since he did that, it's now put to rest forever. Herschel throws out his wife's belongings into the garbage and then disappears off the farm. His absence is not noted until after Beth collapses and goes into a sort of mini coma. Herschel's family believes that he may have started his drinking problem again, just like his father before him. As the others tend to Beth, Rick and Glenn travel to a nearby town to look for Herschel. Dale tries to talk to the others to try to get a sense of Shane's actions. He later speaks to Lori all by themselves about Shane's very erratic behavior. His suspicion that Shane had killed Otis to escape a walker herd, and his fear that Shane is going to get someone else killed very soon. Lori's defense for this is as follows. Shane may be a hothead, but he's not a murderer. Hothead is the one step below murderer. Are you telling me the person that lied to you, almost raped you, nearly shot your husband, but only Dale knows that, she doesn't, and the guy who just yelled at everybody, ripped open a barn, and shot a bunch of somebody's undead family members in front of them? Are you seriously saying that this man is still in some ways the person you once knew a couple months ago? Because Miss Grimes, I fear that you're just as delusional as Rick is at this point. Sorry, not sorry. As Beth's condition starts to worsen, Lori asks Daryl to drive into town to check on Rick, but of course Daryl refuses, saying that his day of searching for people are over. It really does suck because after Sophia was found dead, Daryl basically retreated to his own part of the woods to be by himself. And really does, because you can feel his presence. He feels like he failed everybody. He feels like he failed Sophia most of all, which really goes to show you how deep his pain is over her loss. After he says no, however, Lori opts to go by herself, but of course en route, aka like a few minutes from the farm, she looks down at the map, looks back up, there's a walker in the road, she swerves, and she gets into a car accident. Yeah, this is one of the dumbest moments of the entire season, and ultimately one of Lori's most stupidest moments. Why would you drive and look at the map? Why would you not look at your map before you started driving? It makes no logical sense. But hey, this is Lori Grimes, the character that everybody is pretty sure is one of the least popular. After the car is turned over, she's knocked out, and that's the last time we're going to see any of her this episode. Back in the town, Rick and Glenn find Herschel alone in a tavern, drinking and lamenting the loss of his family. Rick eventually convinces Herschel to come back, but not before Herschel yells in his face, all drunk, saying that he chose not to believe what Rick was telling him, but when Shane showed him what really happened, he knew, just like everybody else, that there is no hope. And he's basically lost all purpose of ever finding happiness again. But thanks to Rick's awesome speech-giving skills, he managed to drive Herschel away from the booze. It's really awesome the way that Rick really motivates people to be better. I mean, I guess it comes from him being a police officer. You know, the sense of wanting to do good things. However, right before him, Rick and Glenn could leave, two very suspicious men from Philadelphia enter the bar. Dave and Tony. Dave is a minor character, but he's an episodic minor character, which means he's not really all that important to the plot, but he's important to this episode, so I decided to include him in this review. They revealed to Rick that his goal of reaching Fort Benning may be overridden, basically because Fort Benning is gone, completely overtaken by the dead. And of course, once they find out that Rick's group is on a farm, they try to goad him into that his group is Dave wants to goad Rick into the two groups joining, trying to find a safe haven. But of course, Rick refuses to disclose the farm's location with them. But then they try to kill Rick, pulling their guns on him, but then the sheriff quickly pulls out his gun, and of course Rick swiftly kills both of them. Dave and Tony are the two people that Rick first kills in this series. And I gotta say, Rick killed people much quicker in the show than he ever did in the book series. Rick doesn't kill anybody in the books until roughly around the beginning of season 3 is, if you're only a television show watcher. So yeah, for Rick to kill someone in season 2, it's a big leap for this type of story. A really awesome music track plays while Rick, Glenn, and Herschel look over the bodies of Dave and Tony, trying to take in exactly what Rick did. He did the right thing. They would have killed them otherwise. All the while, the episode ends with the remaining group burning the rest of the walkers behind the barn, specifically Shane, T-Dog, and Andrea. As a thing of flames is tossed onto the bodies, it ignites into fire as the episode ends. Nebraska is a good episode. It's definitely a good continuation from the awesomeness that was the mid-season finale, and a superb start to the second half. I would honestly say it's one of my most seen episodes of season 2. Even though it's not one of my favorites, I do understand watching it to get the full story. The way that the group copes with the death of Sophia in their own particular way is very interesting. And once again, Melissa McBride and Scott Wilson pull amazing performances out of their hats. This cast is so amazingly talented in these roles. They really live and breathe The Walking Dead that they're in right now. Honestly, Nebraska is a very good chapter in an otherwise underrated story. But then the story will continue to be as underrated, possibly a little shaky, but then will end with a big bang, as you'll soon find out. Thank you guys so much for watching my review of episode 8 of season 2 of The Walking Dead, Nebraska. If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. And as always, my friends, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!